Yes, I believe in God and that He is the creator of the universe.
I do believe in God, and yes, I do believe He is the creator of the universe.
Yes, I do believe in God and that He's the creator of the universe.
I do believe He's the creator of the universe.
No, I don't believe in God. I just believe it's a made-up story to teach people right from wrong.
I don't know necessarily if I believe in God, but maybe there might be like some other force out there.
I believe in God and the Bible, and everything I follow goes through the Bible.
Yes, I strongly believe that God is the creator of the universe, because without Him, none of us would be here at the moment.
Aristotle once wrote, "All human beings by nature desire to know."
And St. Thomas Aquinas speculated that a human being's desire is naturally inclined to thinking and understanding.
God created each and every person with the ability to reason and ask questions.
It is intrinsic in human nature to wonder about the meaning of life, the reasons why humans were created, and whether or not we are alone in the universe.
Our place in the universe. That's what we'll be talking about today. Hi everyone, I'm Matt.
And I'm Kristen, and this is Realfaith TV.
Many of the teens on the street express their beliefs in God as the creator of the universe.
We'll talk with them more a little later in the show, as well as meet our studio guests.
But first, let's meet our spotlight guest, Brother Guy Consolmagno, a Jesuit astronomer and planetary scientist for the Vatican Observatory.
He is also the curator of the Vatican's extensive meteorite collection and author of the new book, The Heavens Proclaim.
Let's meet him now as he discusses the reasons for his belief in God.
And whether or not he has ever had doubts along his faith journey.
Ultimately, my belief in God doesn't come from my science. My belief in God was there before I was ever a scientist. And my relationship to God is a relationship of someone who I relate to, who loves me, and who I love in return. And this is a God who I encounter in human beings as well as in my science. It's a God who I encounter in my family and my friends, as well as in the beauty of the sunset or the beauty of the equations that describe the sunset. And you can't forget that personal God, which is what makes Christianity more than just a sort of a dry deism. Was there ever a time when I doubted the existence of God? About once a day. You always are filled with doubts. That's why we need faith. That's why faith is not just automatic, but it needs to be nurtured, which is why you need to pray, because you need to remember all the times when God has come through for you. All the times when you've been able to dish off the ball to Him and He's taken the last shot. Our doubts are an essential part of our faith. If you didn't doubt, then you wouldn't have faith. Doubt is not the opposite of faith. Certainty is the opposite of faith. It's not original to me. It's a crazy theologian who said this, Anne Lamott, who I disagree with in many things she says, but I love that line. And it means that we have faith precisely because we're not certain. And it also means if you're absolutely certain, you really don't have faith.
I really like how he was saying you have to remember faith at the end of the day and all God has done for you. Because I think that really reminds us what our place in the universe is when we remember God at the end of the day. So let's see what our studio guests have to say about this topic.
Okay, they are Charlotte, Dan, Patrick, Jackie, Nick, Phil, and Mary.
So do you guys like to, ask the big questions in life, like who are we and where did we come from?
Who doesn't? It's human nature, like he was saying. Like, you have to have faith in what you're taught, but unless you question that faith, it's not really faith.
Yeah, I agree. I've spent most of my life contemplating, why am I here? What am I doing? What's my purpose? And I think everyone reaches that point where after like living long enough, they start realizing, where am I going? Like, what is this my purpose?
And I think when, you spend a lot of your life questioning and wondering what your purpose is, once you find it, you're just going to be so much more like motivated to take that and really make a lot out of it.
Yeah, I think it's human nature to try to figure out, like, why am I here? What's your purpose?
We're not the only ones that ask these big questions. In fact, every culture, every religion, every nation, and every era has struggled with the big questions and has used stories and sacred texts to describe the nature of reality.
So is what you believe in your faith and what you know as science ever in conflict with one another?
That's what we pose to the teens on the street.
Let's check it out.
Do you ever feel in conflict with your religious belief in God and what science claims?
Well, sometimes, yeah, I guess. Because you have so many people doubting it, you start believing it. No, because science, it proves it with facts. or a lot of it with facts. Like, we share 99% of our DNA with, like, apes. So, I mean, like, if you're not going to believe in evolution.
Sometimes I do feel conflicts, but I just, like, talk to my pastor and stuff.
At times I do, but you got to go back to the Bible and see what your beliefs are really.
I always have faith.
Sometimes I do get mixed up between the two, but like just the events that happen in this earth, like for instance Hurricane Katrina and just all the weird things that go on, I get mixed between whether it's evolution or if it's God.
Oh, not really, because there's a lot of conflict between the two, and I never had a conflict between believing in God and science.
Do you believe there is some common ground?
I think there's both somewhat in common. Both God plays a part and science plays a part, but God plays a bigger part, I think, in it overall.
There's common ground, but for the major issues is conflict. Like, who created the universe and how?
Faith and science are always clashing.
I don't believe there's any common ground between faith and science. I don't believe that anything deals with science. I think it's all God's doing.
One side says this is how things are, and another side comes out and corrects that, and the two of them just conflict, and it's something that's always going to happen too. You know, there's always going to be conflict between science and church.
You believe in science, and that's what you believe in. If you believe in faith, and that's what you believe in, I don't feel there's any common ground between the two.
We just see black and white and not the gray part. It's kind of difficult.
I think faith and science is all related. You just have to go on with what we know. Like God is first in our life.
You know, I think a lot of the parts that I struggle with is also the parts that reaffirm my faith in God. Like I might say, you know, okay, if we came from apes, where did those apes come from? You know, we all had to have come from somewhere. You can't have a book without an author. Nothing comes from nothing.
Yeah.
So what about you guys? What conflicts have you experienced when it comes to faith and science?
I have a problem with evolution because, like, the Bible says that the whole 6 days of creation and everything. But then when you look at science, like, it's such a drastic difference because, like, with the Big Bang and 6 days of creation, I just have a hard time, like, understanding how, like, the Bible could say it's in 6 days, but, like, the Big Bang, how it takes place in one instant.
Yeah, I mean, like, I have trouble understanding the whole connection between, like, evolution and the way God created it because, you know, we say we evolved from apes, but where's the point in time when we got souls, you know, and that's something that only God could give to us. So I feel like there's a lot of twists and turns, and sometimes we don't always find an answer, like, straight up.
Yeah, I believe that faith and science go hand in hand. Like, basically science is explaining the wonders of God in an easier and more understandable way, per se.
They complement each other in almost every way, where they're not complete opposites, and they never will be, just because they're both searching for the same thing. If they're trying to find the same thing, then they can't be opposite.
I've heard people say that the truth is what the Bible states and what God tells us, and that scientists are just looking for the beginning of the truth.
The church professes that inexplicable miracles, like the resurrection of Jesus, really did happen.
And science teaches that everything that happens must have a provable explanation.
But the conflict between faith and reason is often oversimplified.
The church is not irrational, and many scientists are actually religious. Next, our spotlight guest, Brother Guy, shares with us how for him faith and science go hand in hand.
Let's hear what he has to say.
Is there a conflict between the belief as a scientist and the belief as a spiritual person? There can't be. Truth is truth. And this was argued out by Thomas Aquinas back in the Middle Ages. So, if you have faith in your faith, you cannot have any fear about what science is going to teach you. My religion teaches me that God created the universe. My science teaches me how he did it. And the great thing about that, from a spiritual point of view, is it means that by knowing that God did it this way instead of all the other ways that God could have done it, you get to learn something about God. God manages to do things that are both rational, logical, and beautiful. While science and religion are very closely related, they're not the same thing, and they're not one attempting to replace the other. Science is a collection of human-made theories that attempt to describe and give flesh to the truth. But they're always incomplete. My science will never have the answer to everything. There will always be more things that I need to know. So while my science is approaching the truth, it never quite gets there. Religion is just in the other direction. It starts with truths. It starts with things that I know in my heart that God loves me. I know and I believe that there was Jesus Christ who did these incredible things that the eyewitnesses so believed in that they were willing to go to death rather than deny them. But I don't understand it. My religious truths always need a deeper understanding. My scientific understanding always needs to come closer to the truth. And so they're both on the same road, but going in different directions. And it's because they're so similar that people can see them as possibly being in conflict. And together, they give you the strength to both appreciate the truth I know, the science I see, and yet recognize I don't know it all, and there's still more stuff to learn.
The first chapters of Genesis claim that the sole designer of the universe is God.
And that the creation of the world happened in 6 historical days, followed by a day of rest.
Next, Brother Guy talks about how our understanding of the cosmos is inspired by the Genesis account.
And how the story of creation, at the time it was written, brought about a radically different idea on the origins of the universe.
As a scientist, I see that the universe is beautiful. Didn't have to be beautiful. I see that the universe is logical. Didn't have to be logical. I could envision some kind of God who just arbitrarily does things on whim from moment to moment. That's not the way that our God works. I could see a God who makes things very rational and very logical, but very functional, so you see all the gears and levers. And no, that's not the way God does it. God is not the God who causes crops to grow and lightning to strike down from the ceiling. God is the God who was there from before the beginning, who said, "Let there be." This is a radically new idea of what God was all about, that no other culture had come up with. That is the inspiration of Genesis. To treat Genesis like a science book is crazy, because they didn't even have a science book back when that was written. Chapter 2 of Genesis doesn't even agree with chapter 1. That's not the point. The point is, no matter how you see the universe being created, the underlying message consistent in all the different creation stories in the Bible is that God did it. God did it deliberately, rationally, beautifully, as an act of love. And I cannot imagine a more radical idea about the nature of the universe than that, or one that better justifies why we do science. At the time, whoever wrote chapter 1 of Genesis was taking the best science of that day, Babylonian science. The Babylonians said the universe is a big flat plane with a dome and water above and below. Look at the rain, of course there's water above. You dig a hole and you get a well, of course there's water below. They were just looking at the universe. And that was as big as they could imagine. What the Genesis author did was he took this cosmology from the Babylonians and he put a twist to it. He said, no, it was not by accident. It was the deliberate, loving act of a God who was outside of nature.
I always kind of just learned that the creation stories were just that. They were stories. They weren't meant to be true. But behind that, there was spiritual truth. And I liked what he said, that the underlying message that we can take from all of those is that God did it. God was the creator.
Yeah.
So even though they don't agree, there's always that truth that God created it.
Yeah, and I really like how he was talking about, there's a reason behind it all. I thought that was really cool.
So what about you guys? How do you make sense of how the universe was created?
Well, when I was younger, my parents, they read me the Bible and they told me that God created it and it was good. So God created us and we are good, even if people don't understand why he created us to his image.
There's no way how complicated everything is with us being made of billions and billions of cells. I don't think something as complicated as that could be just made. Yeah. Something great, something completely amazing had to have their hand in that, and I think that was God. I know that was God because it's just something so amazing and so wonderful. It ain't something simple that just popped out of nowhere.
He's really the Alpha and the Omega. He's been there from the beginning, and he'll be there till the end.
In his hypothesis of the primeval atom, George Lemaitre, a physicist and Roman Catholic priest, originally proposed what became known as the Big Bang Theory.
It is this idea that all the matter existing in the universe was created from one instantaneous massive explosion.
In his observations of the movement of galaxies, Lemaitre theorized that they must have all originated from the same point at the same time,
bringing into question Who or what set the universe on its course it is today?
Was it God who pulled the trigger on the Big Bang?
Those are the tough questions for anyone to answer. But perhaps even more difficult is understanding how we as humans came to be.
How exactly did we get here? And what was the purpose of our creation?
This is what we pose to the teens on the street.
Let's check it out.
Humans were created to make God's world a better place.
I have no idea. I don't know. I really don't know why we are put on this earth.
I think humans were created to do what we have done today.
I believe humans are like my brothers and sisters because that's what it says in the Bible, and God made them. Well, God created us, so he created us in his image, like I said, and God has a purpose for us. So everybody asks that question, you know, why are we here on earth? You know, so basically only God knows.
I believe everybody's created equally, and at the end of the day, we're all brothers and sisters.
I believe that God created a world that he wants people, I guess it's like a little test run, like a rehearsal or something. And everybody has a different attitude towards things, and he wants everybody to see, he wants to see if everybody can interact with each other or not.
That's such a tricky question.
I don't know.
So what do you guys think? What's our purpose in the universe and what's our existence?
I've always believed that, from my basic religion even, that we were put on this earth to know, love, and serve God, whether it's doing it through other people or doing it just glorious prayers to him.
I think that we're put on this earth so we could learn about God and learn who he is.
I think one of our purposes for being here is to love one another.
I think God sent us here for a reason, and we might not always know it. We may go through our entire lives fulfilling it, and we may never know what it was. But when we go to heaven, when we go into eternal rest with our Father, he's going to let us know, and he's going to be like, I'm proud of you. You did this for me. Thank you.
I think one of the reasons God created us was because he had so much love that he wanted to share. So he made like an entire human race to share it with, you know?
St. Thomas Aquinas wrote,
"The goal of human existence is union and eternal fellowship with God." The Catholic Church's answer to the meaning of life question is simple.
Love God and love others, which is exactly what Jesus explained to the disciples in Matthew 22.
Let's go back to our spotlight guest, Brother Guy. Well, he'll explain how love is central to God's creation.
Let's take a look.
God is the answer to this great question, why is there a universe? Why is there something instead of nothing? It's not the only possible answer, but it's a really good answer. And it's one that's self-consistent, and it's one that gives me confidence to go on and continue, being in love with this God. It tells me that God loves a universe that's beautiful, that's logical, that's elegant, and that isn't always so easy to understand. But as a scientist, when I do get a new bit of understanding, when I go, oh, that's what it's about, I get that same sense of joy that I get in a moment of prayer. I feel like I'm relating to the same God, both when I do my science and when I pray. God is ultimately a God of love. And love only happens when you've got an other. God created us not to be God, but to be creatures who could return God's love and be part of God's love and share God's love. God is the source of good, but because we've received this good, we have the free will to do good things on our own, to offer back to God. And sometimes it's like the little kid who draws a scrawl and mom puts up on the refrigerator door. You know, the little kid's scrawl is not a Picasso, but it's the act of love of that little kid. And the mom loves the little kid enough to put it up in the refrigerator. We're children in that sense. And the love that a child gives back to a parent is a great example of the love that we give back to God. And so at the end of the day, we are creatures of love. Sounds like a rock song. But we are. And one of the reasons I do astronomy is because it's my way that I can express my love for this Creator. Other people have other ways of expressing it, whether it's, singing music, doing dance, raising a family. All of these different creative acts are ways that we give back to God our efforts from our love in response to his effort and his love.
It seems like a big theme of creation is, God's love. So how do you guys think that the universe reflects that,
Well, I think that since we're all made in God's image and likeness, and if God is love, then wouldn't like the universe and creation be love? Because everything is made in His image. Like that's what I feel about that.
Yeah.
I think that if God didn't love us, He wouldn't have made the universe, because He wouldn't have went through like all the work to create everything if He didn't love us.
I think that God loved us so much, He gave us souls and minds to be able to think and to ask questions so we could learn more about Him and the universe that He put us in.
You can also say that God loves us so much that He sent down His only Son to die for us so that we may be saved.
I think merely just looking at the universe and all the wonderful things in it is just one of the ultimate showings of God's love. I mean, if you look at simple pictures of space, of Earth, of jungles, or of stars, of galaxies, it's all so amazing and so wonderful. And to the human eye, it's like so complicated, so amazing. But to like someone who like thinks, wow, that's God's creation, it's just so amazing because it's so hard to explain, but it's so wonderful at the same time.
For us, kind of thing.
I think that so vast is the universe, that is so vast, God's love for us. He creates something so complex, so large, that is beyond our comprehending.
And if that's like even the vaguest equivalent of God's love, that means God's love for us is still growing. It's still growing greater for all of us. It's never going to end. It's just going to keep growing and getting greater.
The Church hopes that science and religion will not always be at odds.
In fact, the Church blesses the work of all scientists.
In Vatican II document called The Church in the Modern World, the Church reflected on the work of scientists and called them the humble and persevering investigators of the secrets of nature.
And reflected that their work is being led, as it were, by the hand of God in spite of Himself.
For it is God, the conservator of all things, who made them what they are.
Finally, Brother Guy talks about how astronomy has been an integral part of church history.
And how studying the cosmos has been a spiritual mission in giving praise to the Creator.
The Vatican has supported astronomy for a long time. One of the first reasons they hired a bunch of astronomers was to reform the calendar. The calendar we use now is the Gregorian calendar because Pope Gregory XIII set it up. And it's this mathematical system that allows us to work out when do you have leap years, when do you set the date of Easter, and that was all solved about 400, 500 years ago. It was not until the late 19th century, 1891, that Pope Leo XIII said specifically, the Vatican is going to have an official observatory. Part of it was political. The Vatican wanted to show its independence from Italy at those days. He also wanted to show the world that the Church was not against science, but in fact supported science. They originally built the telescopes for the observatory on the walls of the Vatican itself. But then, electric lights were invented and the city lights of Rome made it impossible to do astronomy there. So in the 30s, they moved out to the Pope's summer home. And they built a couple of telescopes on the Pope's palace in Castel Gandolfo. City lights came out there. So by the 1980s, and they set up an outpost at the University of Arizona in Tucson, Arizona. Why there? It's one of the great spots for astronomy in the world because it's a desert and you've got mountains and it's dry and there already were a lot of telescopes there and a lot of people we could work with. So there's a dozen of us Jesuit astronomers. We come from all over the world, 4 continents, 7 countries, a dozen languages among us. And we're there to show the astronomers that the Church is supporting their work and to show the Church that astronomy is a great way of giving praise to the Creator.
I think it's really interesting how the Vatican had telescopes for the astronomers so they could study the stars. It shows that they really don't have a conflict.
That's for true. I think the more people that realize that it's so different, the more people are going to become one, and we're not going to have so much disagreement in the world.
Yeah.
And the 3 wise men were astronomers, and they were looking at the stars, and that's what eventually led them to Jesus in the Nativity story.
It reminds me of a scripture. In the beginning there was Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the Word became man and everything. And it just goes to show that in the beginning of time, whenever we were created, that there was God. Today, there still is God, and in the future, there will always be God.
That's deep. Our knowledge of the universe is constantly evolving and being rewritten to reflect new discoveries.
But God's truth is never outdated. His love for creation is eternal.
How does your faith help you to understand your place in the universe?
We'd love to hear from you. Contact us through our website,
The address is www.realfaithtv.com.
Or you can call us at 609-406-7402.
And we'll leave you today with a passage from Psalm 19.
The heavens declare the glory of God. The sky proclaims its builder's craft.
One day to the next conveys that message. One night to the next imparts that knowledge.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time on
Realfaith TV. God bless.